Did you hear the noise just a moment ago? Did you hear the thunder? It's the thunder that drew kids like Mike Fitzsimmons over the hill and Chip Hanauer down the hill to the shores of Lake Washington about 211 years ago to watch the old boats run. It is vintage hydroplane time presented by Pemco. And before we take you out onto the course and show you their race, let's take you back in time a little bit. A good friend of ours has a little piece of history. In fact, this was built by our own Mike Fitzsimmons.
Okay, this is the model replication of the 1951 Gold Cup fleet that was first run here in Seattle. I've displayed the boats in the order that they actually won the race. I commissioned him to build them one at a time, starting with the winner of the 1951 Gold Cup race, because at that time that was the first Gold Cup that we hosted here in the city of Seattle. The Slow Motion 5 was the winner of the race that year. It was her first year of competition. She was driven by Lou Fagel and owned by Stan Sayers. Jack Schaefer came west with Horace Dodge's G31, the Hornet, which came back to Seattle years later, racing under the name Wahhapen 2. Perhaps the most beautiful boat in the whole regatta was the Miss Pepsi. We knew it as the real Darth Vader, but if you look closely underneath the cowl here, you can see the exquisite detail. These are twin Allison engines driving a single propeller in the back. The Quicksilver is one of the most unique boats in the whole fleet because it is the one that carried the two drivers that were killed here in Seattle that year. It was built in steps, much like the Miss Pepsi was, and that caused it to porpoise an awful lot. It bounced off the ways. I was there in 1951. I was at the Gold Cup. I was standing right behind the barge when the Quicksilver spun out of control and killed the driver and the riding mechanic. Each one of these boats took approximately 4 months to build. Sometimes we went as long as a year before I would get the next model. So these have been in production well over 15 years. Everything on here is handcrafted. There are no decals. Everything is original paint. The wood is the same type of wood that was used on the original model. To my knowledge, there is no duplicate anywhere. He has signed the transom of each one of the boats as an original, and to our knowledge, they are S-scale, drawn right to a blueprint, and as well detailed as he could possibly make them.
Well, that was Bob Flagel, and he's got a fabulous collection of those model boats. And Mike Fitzsimmons, you have many more talents than I even assumed, one of which is you're going to call those old boats you used to watch as a kid. Here is Mike Fitzsimmons and hydro great Tom Deeth with our vintage hydroplanes presented by Pemco.
Thank you very much. Yes, Tom Deeth, three-time Gold Cup champion, Miss U.S., Miss Budweiser. He certainly has known these boats. His dad, Val, raced in the era when these boats were quite popular, and they're coming down to make the start of the Pemco Classic, Tom.
This is the Pemco Classic. We've got Billy Shoemaker on the inside with Dave Williams in the nitrogen right next to him. The Miss Burien U4 is on the outside. Budweiser is coming up from the rear.
This is the 1967 Budweiser, the boat that Mike Thomas drove to a victory in Kelowna, British Columbia. As they come down on the right-hand side of your screen there, that's the 1958 national champion Miss Budweiser, driven by the fellow who 10 years later was a national champion and Gold Cup winner in the checkerboard, Miss Bardall.
Oh yeah, Billy looks forward to this every year. It's just a great time. These APBA vintage hydroplanes love coming to Seattle and competing in the Pemco Classic. We want to certainly thank them too because they sponsor this event every year. Pemco's a great company.
They certainly are. Washington Company, John Osterberg and the group out there have done a wonderful job helping the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum, where these vintage hydroplanes are housed, and they were all restored lovingly. And look at this, we got ourselves a duel. Here comes Dave Williams on the outside in Nitrogen 2, which starred as Miss Madison in the motion picture soon to be released called Madison.
That's right. And you know, the Nitrogen 2 is the boat that Ronnie Musson drove when Ole Bardal saw his talents and then tapped him on the shoulder to drive that Miss Bardal that he won 3 Gold Cups with.
That's absolutely correct. Sam DuPont giving this to the city of Madison, Indiana, as the second of the Miss Madisons. His first Nitrogen was the first Miss Madison.
Right. Buddy Byers, of course, who was the sports commissioner at one time, drove that boat along with Marion Cooper out of Louisville, Kentucky. But Dave Williams is doing a beautiful job right now, running side by side with Billy Shoemaker, who's on the inside in the Miss Bardall. Boy, if that doesn't get the blood pumping, nothing will. Listen to that sound.
Gotta love it. Allison, 1,710 cubic inches.
Jumping around a little bit. The water is a little bit choppy, as Chip alluded to, but you notice these boats don't create the huge wakes in the corner that the skid fins from the modern boats create. which caused Mike Weber's problem in that upper corner. We've got Billy Schumacher. These skid fins are on the inside of these hulls. They still carried a lot of straightaway speed, but they had to back off and slow down.
And they were
corner.
very shallow. They only hung down about 6 or 7 inches at the most. They weren't these great big blades, so they didn't track so much water. Okay, here looking at the 58 national champion. Jack Regis drove this boat in Coeur d'Alene in 1959, had a terrible crash, but the boat was unconscious for a number of weeks in the Spokane, Washington hospital. But this boat was also driven by Mira Slovak, and he won the 1958 National High Points.
That's right, and we've got Dave Williams again pulling up on the outside, making this a great race. Look at the nice tight corner that Billy Schumacher's making. You can see the water coming out. There's plenty of water cooling these big Allison and Merlin aircraft engines. These boats are exciting to drive. I was very privileged to be able to run both Allison Merlins and turbines in my career, and I'll tell you what, this is where the fun is.
And you drove up front of the motor as well as behind the motor when you drove the big V12s, and then later, of course, the turbines up ahead of the engine. All right, on the inside and now close up, here's the Miss Bardall, and you can see these are round prow, what we call shovel nose boats. These were before the pickle fork concept.
That's right, and this is the last lap. We're on the white flag lap. We got Billy Schumacher on the inside. This race is getting really exciting. We've got basically the boat that Ron Musson drove and cut his teeth in, pulling up alongside for a neck-and-neck duel for the finish.
All right, and last year the defending champion was the Bardall, this particular boat, which was launched last year, and now we got ourselves a duel. David Williams, of course, the director of the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum, and not a bad shoe in his own right, drove this particular boat over 1,000 laps in the making of the movie Madison.
Oh, that's correct. And you notice the black smoke that was puffing out of the Miss Bardall there. Of course, Evelyn Manchester Bardall runs that company today. Billy looking over his shoulder to see where Dave Williams is at. He's very competitive still today. He wants to win this race. You know, Billy is going to be getting married next Sunday.
That's right. Not strapped in the race boat, by the way. None of them were in this particular era of hydroplane racing. No 5-star harnesses like they use today. All right, on the outside now, David Williams making his move on the outside in nitrogen 2. You see Billy, but watch now as David is in the rooster tail. He's going to try to move that nitrogen 2 into position. He's pulling up alongside.
He's pulling up alongside. They're neck and neck. Look at the black smoke. He's on the nitrous. Both of them blowing black smoke. They're accelerating back and forth. The tails are popped. They're heading for that finish line. We're looking for an exciting finish.
All right, they're virtually side by side as they come down the front straightaway. Is David going to be able to pull it off? Doesn't look like it. Looks like Bardall will repeat.
There
and it is the Bardall across the line.
Crosses the line first.
Almost a photo finish in third place up in the north turn. It's the Miss Burien. There's your second place boat, the nitrogen 2.
Well, that's two professionals out there driving those boats just the way that we like to see them run. Rooster tails in the air, black smoke puffing coming off that corner. Boy, that was an exciting way to see the
Look at
finish
these
of this
guys
race.
muscle these, Tom. I mean, it took a tremendous amount of upper body strength to be able to muscle these around a race course.
Give these guys a wave, ladies and gentlemen, because what they're going to do is they're going to do a parade lap up the backstretch. There's Ken Muscatel, or
that's Mark Evans, actually.
Mark Evans driving the Hawaii Kai. Ken was supposed to drive the boat, but because he's commitments racing today, he let Mark Evans drive, which is a great sportsman move. They're going up by the log boom now, and they're waving to the crowd. Give them a wave back.
Fabulous unlimited hydroplanes of the golden era. Miss Bardall, this boat spent years in the Goodwill down on Dearborn here in Seattle. It was in very good shape when they did the restoration, but still a lot of work. There's Mark Evans.
There's Mark Evans.
Ever the showman coming by in the Hawaii Kai 3. Jack Regis drove this boat, of course, the 1958 Gold Cup Championship right here on Lake Washington.
Right, he's giving everybody a salute. There's Dave Williams in the nitrogen 2. And you know, one thing I want to say is Billy Schumacher was the first native-born Seattle guy to kick the door down and make success and have a wonderful career in unlimited racing. All these other unlimited drivers that are running today, they owe a lot to this guy right here, Billy Schumacher, driving the Bardall, because all the drivers came from the East.
That's right.
And Billy Schumacher was a native Seattleite. He had a tremendous career running limited.
Started out at age 18 in the Unlimiteds in the Miss Tool crib way back when, 1961.
That's right. And driving the checkerboard Bardall, won 2 championships in a row, 2 gold cups. He was basically doing a lot of the testing for Ronnie Musson when they had the Green Dragon that won 3 gold cups in a row. So the Bardall family, real strong here in the Seattle area. And Jesus, that's a beautiful sight.
Isn't that gorgeous? It absolutely is. This was a typical example of a Ted Jones 3-point built 1960. The Miss Burien was. Chuck Hickling, late Chuck Hickling, was the throttle jockey on this particular boat. That's an Allison 1710. This boat, the Miss Burien, is now driven by Peter Orton. And, of course, the Sudden folks are part of the sponsorship of it, and the Miss Budweiser. And if you get a chance to see it, gorgeous deck on the Miss Budweiser. So the vintage boats, there's the Bud. The Pemco Classic is completed. There's Larry Fuller, tooling the Bud back to the pit area. And we'll be right back to the shores of Lake Washington for more action.
The Pemco Classic at Seafair, presented for Seafair by Pemco Insurance. Pemco, safe drivers get it.